Okay, everybody, the time has come for the end of the 2019-2020 college football season, and with that, I give you my predictions for tonight's game. It's number 3 Clemson versus number 1 LSU, and only one of them is going to come out of the Louisiana Superdome alive, so here it goes. But at the same time, this is also a somber reminder that while college football is going to go on hiatus for another 7.5 more months, the national championship game still brings us the best of the best, competing one last time before getting ready for the start of the regular season. So we won't see anybody hitting each other on a football field until another 7.5 more months. So you won't be able to place your bets in that time either, which is very sad. 7.5 more months. Who knows? Maybe by then we'll have flying cars, or maybe the troops will come home, or we'll have at least a portion of the national debt eliminated by then. I don't know. One can only hope. But anyway, we just can't bet on the spread for tonight's game. We have to go beyond that, and I think I know just the way on how to do that. I have some numbers that I pulled up, and to take a break from everyone else who will just post a video and say, well, I'm going with this team because I like them, and here's who I think is going to win, and that's it. I'm gonna go a little more more in depth than that. So knee deep in the sabermetrics, at least what I was able to find. That's what I got going on. So, number one, if we were to look at sabermetrics, most of them would tell us that Clemson is a favorite, and pick a point spread between maybe 4 and 9.5, maybe 10. I don't think that's the case. I mean, both teams, based on their performances this season, are about equal. So, depending on where you look, who you're a fan of, how much attention you've been paying to each team, etc. But the way I see it, some people are giving LSU an edge, others are saying Clemson, others are undecided. None like one significantly more than the other. And that's perfectly okay, but then again, statistics have their limitations, and I think this will be a perfect example of that. Because statistic number one, I look at this as a de facto home game for LSU. Playing in the Louisiana Superdome is nothing new for LSU, and while Clemson may have gotten their fair share of tickets sold, even on paper, when I looked at this game, I figured this is going to be a pro LSU crowd. Crowd support might be maybe 85-15, 80-20, somewhere around there. So maybe that pushes the scales a little bit in the direction of LSU from a psychological advantage. But I don't think that's going to be a deciding factor for me. Number two, it sounds stupid, but the real reason why I like LSU is not because I'm a fan of them. If it's not a team of destiny, then whatever it could be. I mean, they've been the story. They've basically been the story ever since the 2019-2020 season first started. I mean, they've won every award, they've passed every test, they've scored every touchdown, and now they have the chance to show everybody what they're really made of. And as great as a team Clemson is, are they good enough to beat LSU? That's one of the questions going into this game. While nearly nobody else has been able to this year, Clemson just might do it, but I personally don't think so. They have a great quarterback. They have plenty of weapons, just like LSU. And Clemson just doesn't have that sense of destiny around it, in my opinion. I think it's too much of they're like a background character, so to say, in the story of the 2019-2020 season. And on behalf of LSU fans, in my opinion, I think we just need to enjoy the ride, not worry about plot holes, and let the rest of the season play out, which I hope it goes in our favor. But anyway. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Like the 3 John Wick movies, for example. The best comparison I can give you. As soon as I find my notes here. Okay, here it is. Statistic number one, over or under on the points. The last I looked, it was at 68.5. I'm going to put destiny aside for this one. I mean, the total might be a little too high for some people, but I think it's because of in large part of what LSU was able to do to Oklahoma in the Peach Bowl. And Clemson's defense is in Oklahoma, I understand, but on the other hand, it's quite the opposite. Clemson hasn't had a chance to go up against many offenses like the one of LSU, but Ohio State, on the other hand, had one of the most prolific offenses in the country this year. The Buckeyes scored more points per game than the regular season, or during the regular season, than what LSU did. But on the other hand, Clemson's defense was able to hold Ohio State to about 23 points, and it was also the most Clemson had allowed to an opponent all year. Clemson's not going to stop LSU's offense. Don't get me wrong, but there isn't a defense at the college level that could imagine doing so. Not even close. It might slow them down a little bit, but I don't think they're going to completely shut them down. I mean, a lot more than Oklahoma had any chance of doing, at least. I mean, LSU's offense struggled at times against top defenses, and Clemson's defense is one of the best in the country, so. On the flip side, though, LSU's defense is often overlooked because of the offense. While many people, if not the vast majority of people, are more so just talking about the offense. While it isn't an elite unit, it's better than what most people actually believe, and I'm one of the few who have actually gone out and said, as great as the offense is, look at the defense as well. In my opinion, it's better than what most people believe. But they also have a secondary full of future NFL players like Ohio State. And that's going to come in handy trying to slow down Clemson's passing attack, but just like what Ohio State did. Would 35 points be enough to win this game? I think so, but someone suggests the under is a smart play. I think maybe someone scores a few more points. So if it were up to me, I would go with the over. I'm going to go over 65.5. At least that's what I would have it as. I would go with the over, play safe, and see what happens. But I think for a combined total, 69 or more points on the board is going to be a real sight to see. Let's see. Quarterback stats. As soon as I find it here. Okay. Here we are. Sorry. Anyway, sorry for the shaky filmography here. I'm sorting through notes and at the same time trying to get my predictions, so I apologize. Let's see. Bayou Joe from LSU. Over or under for tonight's game, passing yards 360.5. On the season this year, he averaged about 372 yards passing per game, but that doesn't tell the whole story because we often think of the SEC as a strong defensive conference. But the way I see it, Joe Burrow and LSU didn't really face a lot of great passing defenses this season. The average rank of the 13 FBS pass defenses that LSU faced in defensive passing efficiency, I want to say was 67th or 66th. But, 67th, I think. I could be wrong, but even that rank is a little bit misleading because Georgia and Alabama completely skewered it. But those two were the only opponents that even finished in the top 25. If you guys remember correctly, and I think 8 of LSU's opponents finished in the bottom 50. So, but on the other hand, LSU did face 5 opponents that finished in the top 35, and I want to say it was Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Texas A&M, and Georgia. And in each of those 5 games, Joe Burrow averaged 341.5 yards per game, which is still awesome for a guy who won the Heisman. And for good reason, too. If anyone was looking for another reason to give this guy the Heisman, that would be it. But on the flip side of that, it's a full 30 yards below this season's totals as he averaged 390.8 yards per game. I want to say the exact number was 390.8, but let's just round up and say 391. So given that Bayou Joe hasn't been as prolific against better defenses, there's still value on the under. Some are saying take advantage of it. Some are saying take advantage of it. I would say the same thing. So give me, my head says the under, my heart says the over, but give me the under. 360.5 sounds fair. Trevor Lawrence, on the other hand, one of the questions here is, will he be able to score a touchdown? Keep in mind that as great a quarterback he is, running for a touchdown wouldn't be anything out of the ordinary for him this year. As I maybe predict him to run for one touchdown if he's even been able to get it. But on the other hand, he has 8 rushing scores, though they aren't all from 67 yards out, like his touchdown against Ohio State was, for example, in the Fiesta Bowl. And I think just like in the Ohio State game, I expect LSU's defense to try and take their running back, Travis Etienne Jr., out of the game as much as possible, and also force Trevor Lawrence to be a ball carrier. Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne Jr. is extremely dangerous when the quarterback is running. You either get to hit the quarterback, hit the running back, or somebody else. So as far as LSU goes, it's the best of both worlds. You can either go for Trevor Lawrence, you could go for Travis Etienne Jr., or go for somebody else who's able to get their hands on the ball. But yeah, this will be a sight to see. For combined, I don't know how many passing yards he's going to throw for, but let's see. For Joe Burrow, I said 360.5. I'm going to say the same thing for Trevor Lawrence. I would say the under for him also. But anyway, LSU's defense is vulnerable to the run game. That's another stat I was going to talk about. At least when it comes to allowing touchdowns, LSU's defense only allowed 3.5 yards per carry this season, which nationally ranked 28th or 29th. But they also allowed 16 rushing touchdowns in 14 games, which averaged about 1.14 per game. So on the whole, that's not bad either. But even still, if you compare that to a Clemson defense, that's only allowing 0.65 rushing touchdowns per game. You can see that it's not that great either. But I'd suggest that Clemson will get at least one rushing touchdown, and Travis Etienne Jr. is going to probably be limited in one capacity or another because you couldn't just hand it off to him the vast majority of the game. So yeah, Travis Etienne Jr. touchdowns. I'm going to say he maybe goes for 3. Some people are saying the under, but some people are saying take the over, under, whatever it is. But I'm going to say the under. I think he maybe, if he gets 3 or more, it's based on pure luck, but I don't think he's going to get that many. Let's see. Last stat I'm going to give is Thaddeus Moss. I have the Bulls on the brain. I have the Chicago Bulls on the brain, and I said Thaddeus Young instead. Thaddeus Moss. Over or under receiving yards for him this game, 44.5. He's a matchup problem for a lot of defenses this year, and the same way LSU's other receiving options have been this year. We're talking about a guy who's listed at 6 foot 3.5 inches tall, weighs 250 pounds, and has remarkable athleticism. So I can see why. He's he's got the skill set of a wide receiver, but he's got the body of a tight end. But the problem here with him is that he's ranked 5th in the pecking order amongst LSU's receiving options. I mean, while you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire at running back, you have Terrence Marshall, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase on the helm as well. They all have more receptions this year than he does. And while Thaddeus Moss is averaging about 3.3 receptions per game, the total is a little bit skewed. So, but in a 3-game stretch against Auburn, he it was a 3-game stretch against Auburn, Ole Miss, and Alabama. I believe he caught 18 passes for 155 yards. So taking those games out, he averaged about 2.5 receptions per game in LSU's other 10. So reception totals are important because opportunities lead to yards, and in the case of Thaddeus Moss, he doesn't get as many chances. But in this case, he's averaging 41.09 yards receiving per game, which is below the total. So in the 13 games that he did play this year, he finished with 46 yards or more in 6 of them. But in LSU's 5 games against the top passing defenses, that they faced, he averaged about 3.5 receptions and 28.3 yards per game. So all of which suggests that this total is higher than it should be. So the 44.5 might seem a little high, but I'm going to go with the over. Some are saying go with the over, others are saying go with the under. I'm going to go with the over. A couple other quick questions going into this game, and then I'm going to give a final score prediction. In terms of the defense for Clemson. Who do you put on Justin Jefferson to cover him? Who do you put on Jamar Chase? Who do you put on Thaddeus Moss? Who do you put on Terrence Marshall? And can you contain and or completely stop Clyde Edwards-Helaire? So number one, how do you stop/contain Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Number 2, who do you put on the defense to cover Terrence Marshall? 3, who do you put on the defense to cover Justin Jefferson? 4, who do you put on to cover Jamar Chase? And 5, who do you put on to cover Thaddeus Moss? And also, what do you do in terms of trying to stop Joe Burrow? Because we know Joe can throw, but also he can run. Say Joe Burrow gets the opportunity to run for a touchdown or 2, or at least run for positive yardage. What do you do to try and stop or contain him? So, all great questions going into this game. And for a final score, I know this is going to seem a little high, but I have LSU as a favorite of 7.5. I'm going to say, excuse me, LSU 49, Clemson 40. So, that's really about it. Let me know what you think. Please subscribe, and hopefully the LSU Tigers can put an end to the season in the only way they can, winning a championship. So, go Tigers, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you very much.